Warning: the following story contains illustrations, possible jump scares, loud sounds, eerie music, and sudden shifts in atmosphere that may not be suitable for all ages. It is advised that you use headphones open to full screen and maybe keep a light on. We hope you enjoyed this presentation by Dark Dream.
Dark Dream. This really did happen to me, and although I'm not haunted by the memory, it still freaks me out. I'm pretty much out of rational explanations. I don't know if this is gonna freak any of you out, but I can tell you, my irrational paranoia for the dark worsened after this. So, as a kid, I was always afraid of the dark, and I still am. However, it was pretty insane when I was younger. I didn't really believe in ghosts or whatever, or spirits, and I'm still skeptical now. But this one prominent incident has made my perspective change from on the fence to experienced. The frozen lady on my bed. I was 8 years old, and every night was a struggle for me to fall asleep. And if I was fast asleep, I would wake up from the tiniest noise. I used to have a single bed that was placed directly in front of my door, which I would always leave open when I sleep. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and just sitting up with my legs stretched out, rubbing my eyes. Obviously, my room was pitch black and I couldn't see anything. However, this time, I did see something. From the dim light, after rubbing my eyes, I was surprised to see what I assumed was my mother. She was sitting at the end of my bed. The reason why I assumed it was my mother was because it had the same curly hair and wore the same type of pajamas that my mother would wear. And she had glasses, just like my mother did. However, she looked extremely pale, and the more of the color of a dead corpse that you'd find in the ocean. She was not facing me, but I could see her side portrait as she was sitting extremely still, facing the wall. I had no clue why she was just sitting at the edge of the bed. Being the considerate child I was, I asked her what was wrong. Mommy, what's wrong? She did not blink once. She did not move at all. She was sitting there, facing the wall, completely still. I immediately got a bit heated as I thought my own mother was ignoring me. So I asked her the same thing. Mommy, what's wrong? I got the same response. This time, I reached out to her thigh and tapped it, trying to get her to face me. And at the same time, I touched my mother and asked again, Mommy, what's wrong? I did not receive the response I expected. As soon as I touched her, she whipped her head around extremely fast and faced me with wide eyes and stared at me, her mouth gaping open. And then she started screaming. Jumping off the bed and pulling my arms off of her. I obviously screamed back from instinct. I tried to bring the covers over my body to protect myself, and then I heard footsteps from the hallway. I faced my door. The lights turned on. It was my mother, with a scared look on her face. And she asked me, why was I screaming? What was wrong? I just sat there, shocked looked around my entire room. That thing that I thought was my own mother wasn't there. After a moment, I told my mother that it was nothing. I tried to get back to sleep, but I couldn't. Many years later, my mother and her sister were looking through some old photos of theirs. I decided to sit with them. The house that I lived in when that incident happened was there long before I was born, and my mother had in fact grown up while it was being built. She wasn't the first owner, however, so she told me about when it was being built and the first people who lived there. It was a mother and a daughter, and they both died too early in their life. The mother died of cancer, and the daughter died in her young adult years from a drug overdose. My mother showed me a photo of the daughter. Her name was Rachel. I remember that terrible feeling forming in my stomach. I took the photo from my mother. I looked closely. She had curly hair, glasses, but this time in casual clothes. It was her. It was the woman that was on my bed. It looked exactly like her. And that incident that happened when I was 8 will always make me remember her face. I don't know how Rachel, if it was her, got into my room that night, or if I even believe it was a spirit or anything. But someone was there, whether human or not. I saw her, felt her, I heard her. And I will not believe it was my imagination.